Hello everyone, this is the history tutorial video for class 12. We were doing the chapter Kings, Farmers and Towns. We were discussing the question of agricultural output and the use of plough to increase that agricultural output in ancient times. Now, while these technologies often led to an increase in production, the benefits were very uneven. What is evident is that there was a growing differentiation among people engaged in agriculture. How? Stories with the Buddhist tradition, stories written in the Buddhist texts, they refer to landless agricultural laborers, small farmers, as well as large landholders. So the term Grihapati was often used in Pali texts to designate the second and third category, that is, the small farmers and the large landholders. The large landholders, as well as the village headman, whose position was often hereditary, they emerged as powerful figures and often exercised control over other cultivators, other farmers. Now, early Tamil literature, which we call the Sangam literature, the Sangam literature also mentions different categories of people living in the villages: large landowners, ploughmen, and slaves. It is likely that these differences were based on differential access to land, labor, and some of the new technologies. That is, large landowners, ploughmen, or the slaves. They had these different people have different access to land, and some of the new technologies were available for one category or unavailable for another category, and so on and so forth, like that. In such a situation, questions of control over land must have become crucial, as these were often discussed in legal texts. Now, from the early centuries of the Common Era, we find grants of land being made. Land grants were given, many of which were recorded in inscriptions. Some of these inscriptions were on stone, but most of these were on copper plates, which were probably given as a record of the transaction, as the receipt. So, a king may give land grant to a Brahmin, and as a proof of that transaction, the inscription was given to the Brahmin as a receipt. The records that have survived are generally about grants to religious institutions or to Brahmins. Most inscriptions were in Sanskrit. In some cases, and especially from the 7th century onward, part of the inscription were Sanskrit, while the rest was in a local language like Tamil or Telugu. Now, let us look at one such inscription more closely. The inscription that we are going to talk about is of Prabhavati Gupta. Prabhavati Gupta was the daughter of Chandragupta II. Chandragupta II was one of the most important rulers of the Gupta dynasty. Now, Prabhavati Gupta was married to another important ruling family, that of the Vakatakas, the Vakataka family in the Deccan, who ruled in the Deccan area. So, Prabhavati Gupta was married to that family. According to Sanskrit legal texts, women were not supposed to have independent access to resources like the land. However, the inscription indicates that Prabhavati had access to land, which she then granted. This may have been because she was the queen, one of the very few queens from early India, and her situation was therefore exceptional. It is also possible that the provisions of legal texts were not uniformly implemented. This inscription also gives us an idea about the rural populations. These include Brahmins and farmers, as well as the ones who were expected to provide a range of product to the king or the representatives of the king. And according to the inscription, they would have to obey this new lord of the village and perhaps pay him all these dues. So, whenever there was a change in the authority in the village, the villagers, the farmers, they had to obey the new Grihapati, the new headman, village headman who came, and perhaps pay him all the dues because he was a representative of the king. Now, land grants such as this one have been found in several parts of the country. There were regional variations in the size of land donated, ranging from small plots to vast stretches of uncultivated lands, and the rights that were given to the donees that are the recipients. Donor is the one who gives, donees are the one who receives. So, the rights given to donees. The impact of land grants is a subject of heated debate among historians. Some feel that land grants were a part of strategy adopted by the king to extend agriculture to new areas. Others are on the opinion that land grants were indicative of weakening political power. Maybe the king was losing control over their samantas, the king was losing control over their governors or their representatives. So they tried to win allies by making land grants. They also feel that kings tried to project themselves as supermen, as we saw in the previous section, because they were losing control. They wanted to present at least a facade of power, at least a mask of power in front of the common people. They had to maintain that mask of having power, having authority in front of the people. Maybe that's the reason. That's one of the reason. Maybe why they gave land grants to farmers and Brahmins. Okay, so we are stopping here. We will continue with this in the next video. Till then, bye.